Hello, I am Ignace Aleya from ToleratedCinematics.com, and today I will be showing you how to create a realistic snow scene in Adobe After Effects, just like this one. So this is the original file and this is the edited file. As you can see, it's not only adding the snow particles that is going to sell the shot, it's all the surroundings like the mist in the background, the kind of wind that passes together with the snow. And yeah, it's kind of stormy. We desaturated the shot. So yeah, this really looks a lot better than my previous tutorial that I did on this. I have already created a tutorial in the past on how to create realistic snow. But in my opinion, we can pay more attention to the details, like that shot was only adding snow particles, and right now we are going to see at the whole scene to make a convincing shot. So the most important thing is, well, yeah, we need snow in our scene. If we don't see snow on the floor, our mind is going to think it's not going to be realistic snow. Of course, if it's just starting to snow, you won't see snow on the ground. So, but most of the time it's not going to be very sunny outside, so it's going to be overclouded a bit. So make sure you pay attention to these things when you're filming, and then we can desaturate the shot a little bit, because right here we can see it is very saturated and there is sun, so it's a sunny day, but there are enough clouds to sell the shot and make it look convincing. Also in the background we can see that it's a lot mistier there, so we're going to do that as well. Okay, so let's go to After Effects to get started. First thing first, importing your scene. So I'm going to drag and drop this into a new composition, and I'm going to rename my composition to main scene, and there we go. So go to composition, composition settings, rename it, and yeah, that's it. I'm going to delete everything apart from my scenes here because, yeah, I'm going to start from scratch. Let's delete everything. And alright, so we have our scene in a composition. I'm going to change my resolution to full because right now it was at quarter. For you, that will probably already be at full or auto, depending on whatever your preferences are. So let's get started. The first thing we see that the shot is shot on a tripod. So that's great for this kind of shot because we actually want to key out our house here. So we want to make sure that we only select the background. I'm going to explain later why, so we will see that in a second. Let's first trim our composition to, let's say, 10 seconds. That's more than long enough. Right click, trim comp to work area. Okay, so now for the first thing, I'm going to right click, new, and I'm going to add a solid layer. I'm going to click on the pick width and I'm going to pick a color from the snow. So you can see it's not pure white, it's kind of white, grayish, bluish. So click OK and make comp size and click OK. Then I'm going to deselect it, so I'm going to make it invisible by clicking over here, and then I'm going to click on the pen tool and I'm going to select the house. I'm going to key out the house, so just like this here. Very quickly, you can do this very roughly as well, so it doesn't have to be exact. Most of the times that's going to be more than good enough. Okay, so there we go. Make sure you also key out like the center parts, or if you have like a window here, you could also key this out, but this is way too small to notice, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to leave that out. So if we make the layer visible again, we will see that the house is now the color of our solid. We're going to press MM on the keyboard. So if you press that twice, you will get the options for the mask properties here. So I'm going to change the mask to subtract. Now we only have the house, and I'm also going to select the solid again. Take a rectangular tool here and select like the ground layer here. I'm going to right click here and, well, click on the mask and make it subtract as well. Then I'm going to press MM on the keyboard again, just so I get the properties for the second mask as well. And I'm going to increase the feather just so. Then I'm going to double click on one of the corners of the mask so I can rotate it a little bit, and I can drag it down just like this here, just so the floor is completely well, blending in here. So we can see we just want the foreground floor not to be selected. So now if we're going to solo this layer, we can see that it's a little bit too much, so we will increase the size here. Well, the size of the mask just like this. There we go. And let's bring this up and decrease the feather here. So now we have something like this. And this is actually the key that we needed for this scene, so we can see that maybe even a little bit lower just to make sure that the trees are still there, and decrease the feather again and just tweak it a little bit. There we go. If we solo it again. Okay, so this looks alright. And now we are going to click on this solid again, press T on the keyboard, or before we will do that, we will click on the mask feather here, and let's say like feather this by 2%. Just some minor details so you don't see harsh edges, because we didn't do the mask perfectly. Then I'm going to press T on the keyboard and change the opacity to like, let's say 60. And now we can see we have some mist in the background already, which is going to make it look a lot better. Then we're going to duplicate this solid layer here. I'm going to press M on the keyboard and delete the two masks. So now we have no masks at all. I'm going to press T on the keyboard again and now change it to, let's say, 15. And now we have some mist in the foreground. Just a minor detail, but it's going to help out anyway. Then I'm going to right click, new, and I'm going to add an adjustment layer. Going to Effects, Color Correction, and Vibrance. Vibrance is like saturation, but it's only picking all the other colors besides orange and skin tones more. So we are going to desaturate it just a bit, this shot. So let's see what difference it makes. Like all the highlight colors, alright, desaturating just a bit. So that's very important to make it look darker, make it look stormier, or how would I say it? Okay, so now we have our scene. Let's right click again, create new solid, and name this fractal noise. Hit OK. Go to effect, and we're going to add a noise and add a fractal noise. Then we're going to choose basic, change the complexity over here to, let's say, 2, and go to transform, increase the scale like let's say 550. Then we're going to go to the beginning of our timeline here and open up the well, click on stopwatch for offset turbulence here. Okay, and then all the way to the end we're going to move this first the first value here. We're going to move it up to, let's say, 20,000. If we're going over 10 seconds, we will see. Oh, I'll toggle off the audio so we have no audio whatsoever. So now we can see we have our wind, kind of like. It's going pretty fast, so that's good. And then Alt click on the stopwatch for the evolution here. Then we're going to press a value of time times 300. So time times 300, and then just click away, and it's going to add a value, and that means it's going to animate the evolution constantly over time. So if we are going to preview this, we will see a little bit more variation in the wind, so that's great. We'll close this down and change the mode of, change the mode to screen. If you don't see the mode, we can toggle the switches over here. Press T on the keyboard again, and also lower the opacity to whatever you want. So let's say 25 looks alright. And now we see some minor details, so don't exaggerate it, just make it look like very, very subtle, maybe even less, let's say 20%. And now you barely see it, but it's going to add up in the realism. So we have our shot right now. Okay, so now all we have to do is right click and new solid, and we want to add the particles, so let's name this snow. Click OK, and then right click, new, and add a camera as well, and add the camera of 35mm, and then just click OK. And OK. Now click back on the snow layer, go to Effect, Trapcoat Particular. If you don't have this plugin, you can do it with Simulation, so go to Simulation, CC Particle World, but we are going to work with Trapcoat Particular because we have more options in that. So if you don't have the plugin yet and you're planning on using After Effects a lot, I would invest in that plugin. Okay, so we have emitter here. We're going to change the type to box and increase the size in X like so. Let's solo this layer for now so we can see it, and also drag this layer more towards the front so we can see the particles already being born, and also increase the size in Z like so. Then we are going to increase this a little bit more and we're also going to increase the Z here. Also, you can move around with your camera by going over here and orbit camera tool, and you can move it around just like this to get a good orientation. So let's say we're going to do it like this here. There we go. The selection tool, and then just increase the size again. Maybe even more towards the camera. There we go, and now we can move it upwards, well, with the second value here, and just make it go upwards, so drag it to the left. There we go, and now if we're going to play this back, we will see that the particles don't last enough. We will have to change the life of the particles by going into the particle tab here. Also go to the opacity over life and drag this down like so. So just draw it with your mouse. You can click and drag it. So they're going to fade off over life like so. And also increase the life right here. There we go. And we can also randomize the size of the particles and maybe change it to 4. There we go. Alright, this looks good, I guess. Then click on your camera, press AA on the keyboard, and go to depth of field and press that on. And change the aperture to, let's say, 100. And the focus distance, let's say 500. Or 1200. Just so they disappear in the distance, they are going to appear more blurrier like so. You can see in the distance they become blurry, and it's going to add up in realism. So if we go back to the snow and we increase the snows per second, and we're going to get a size of 3, let's say, it's going to be in the distance, it's going to be fading off. And we can also go back and change the aperture to 300 or so and see it like that. We can also increase the focal distance, so play around with it until you find something that you really like. There we go. So I kind of like this one here. And there we go. So the only thing we still have to do is click on the snow and increase the speed of the gravity and add some wind. So it's more for a storm, snowy kind of scene that we're working, but it's purely testing things out, see what I'm doing here, and try to do different things and see what your results are. And yeah, if you're going for a softer scene, well, decrease the value in particles and decrease the speed. So right now we are going to increase the speed of the gravity to, let's say, 600, and go to air and add a little bit of wind to the x-axis to the right. And there we go. And maybe also to the camera, so some snow flying to the camera. If we're going to play this back, we have something like this. So it's very quickly, maybe more to the right. And you can see right here they're disappearing because we don't have enough of particles in the Z here, in the X. You can also move particles to the left. And there we go. Okay, so this is looking better, maybe even higher. Okay, so now we have something. Alright, I like this one. So it's just playing around until you have particles that you really like. And let's preview this with the whole scene. So if we unsolo this and we preview the scene, we can see that we have our snow right over here. Maybe these are still too large, so let's change it to 2 and increase the amount of particles to 1200 or maybe even 2000. There we go. And maybe we need more motion blur by going to the rendering settings, go to motion blur and turn on the motion blur and change the shutter angle to 100, let's say. Okay, there we go. And now it's looking pretty realistic in my eyes. Maybe increase the particles even more. And there we go. Okay, so this is looking pretty neat. What you can do now is right click, go to new and add an adjustment layer to add some standard color grading. So go to color correction, curves, get some more in the shadows. There we go. And bring down the reds. And the greens, also bring them down. Maybe decrease blue in the highlights and increase it in the shadows. But yeah, don't exaggerate it like so. And if we toggle this off and on, we will see that we really gave it a punch and it looks a lot better. We can also add a little bit of sharpening, so go to color correction. We'll go to blur and sharpen and add an earn and sharp mask. There we go. Okay, and what you can do now is also add like these cinematic bars. If we are going to create a new solid, a black solid, click OK. And double click on the mask, so it's going to, and on the rectangular mask, it's going to make a complete selection of our canvas. Now if we double click on the mask on one of the corners, one of the keys, and we hold Ctrl together with our dragging, it's going to give the same motion to the other side of our bar. So now we can do it like this, hit enter and subtract the mask like so. Okay, we can also bring down our, well, we can select our bottom layer and our top layer here and go to layer, pre-compose, and yeah, pre-comp, just rename it to whatever you want, and then bring down the scene just so we see the house and less of the snow on the bottom. Okay, so that was it on how to create some realistic snow scenes in Adobe After Effects. I hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And definitely check out the channel if you're interested in filmmaking and After Effects and all these kind of cool things. Thank you for watching and goodbye.